It might seem a little bit odd to think of water as a nutrient because it doesn't provide vitamins or minerals, it doesn't provide energy, but in fact water is absolutely essential to life. So it becomes a macronutrient, and in fact it makes up about 70% of a human adult body. And what we really need to consider is how much fluid comes in and how much fluid goes out. And for an adult, on average, we lose 1.5 litres of fluid a day via urine. We then lose additional fluid, and it's sort of said as an average of about 1 litre through breathing, through sweating, through the bowel motions. Now, the food that we ingest provides about 20% of our fluid intake. We've then got to make up that shortfall. If we're losing on average 2.5 litres of water a day, and we're taking about 20% of our water needs from food, we've then got a big shortfall to make up. And this is why it's imperative that we're drinking good amounts of water. And when we look at the functions, you'll understand why water is classified as a macronutrient. So one thing it does is it regulates body temperature. And, you know, I said earlier that the body temperature has to be maintained, and it's extremely important to allow cellular functions to occur. So if we do start to get too hot, you know, we're in hot weather or we're exercising, the purpose to sweat is that as that sweat lands on the skin, it has a cooling effect to the body. We also need water to provide the fluid to transport nutrients via the bloodstream. So remember that blood is comprised of cells, but it's also a big component of it is plasma, which contains a lot of water. So we've got to have that fluid. Water is needed to help remove waste. So you think about it, that sweating is actually one means of removing waste from the body. Urine is a means of removing waste from the body. Breathing is. And bowel motions are a way of removing waste from the body. And all of those eliminatory channels are dependent on water. We also need water to provide the fluid that nourishes and protects the joint and cartilage. And the actual joints themselves, the blood flow doesn't get there. So there's a fluid that's produced which picks up the nutrients and which lubricates the joint. So we need adequate water there. Okay, we also need adequate water for digestion, because if we don't have enough water, we can't produce enough saliva. Saliva is that first stage of chemical digestion. So the first stage of digestion is the fact that we actually chew the food, but then we start to get chemical digestion by different digestive enzymes, and saliva has to have fluid in order to form. We also need adequate fluid for bile, for the production of bile in the liver that can be released into the small intestine when we eat foods that contain fats or lipids.